First story. This got so long. If you aren't in it for the long haul, you could jump in about halfway down at the randomly present tense paragraph that starts so a desperate bolt of tequila-induced motivation strikes me. A lot of men seem very spiteful about women being attracted to height. There's definitely girls who are into tall guys just like there's men into women with giant tits and all that. I do feel for my short kings though. The struggle is real, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't contribute to it. I know it's a terrible cliche that doesn't make anyone feel better, but it really is a case of it's not you, it's me. You have to understand my perspective. I'm a taller girl. I'm not giant, but I'm over 5 feet 6 inches. So I do tend to go for guys taller than me, because fucking men shorter than me makes me feel like a mountain. And I don't know how much you know about women, but most of us don't love feeling big while we get railed. It's the same reason women like dad bods. No, your beer gut hanging over your belt doesn't melt my panties, but it does dramatically increase the margins of how much cake I can eat on a weekly basis, while still feeling tiny when you squeeze me. I don't think short guys are ugly. I don't think you're less of a man. I don't look down on you. I mean, obviously I literally do, but not figuratively, sorry. Same with bald guys. I will say the old school Frasier bald with hair on the sides is not great, but I've always thought men with shaved heads look cool. I'm actually one of these dumb hoes that didn't realize men shaved their heads because they were losing their hair. I just thought it was a haircut, like a buzz cut but buzzeter. And in case it's not clear, picky does not describe my sexual appetite. I've fucked many men smaller than me, in height and even weight too. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that, as a rule of thumb, I'd prefer you be bigger than me. Anyway, at this point you, dear reader of stupid slutty stories, might be wondering, what the fuck is this? I'm here to experience arousal though vicarious promiscuity from a distinctly female voice. I want his hard cock sliding into your wet kitty in a taboo, risky, or otherwise unusual situation. Not a new coworker think piece rebuttal to some shit someone else said. Well, this has actually been me summarizing my side of a semi-heated discussion. And by that I mean he was heated while I hoped a stray bullet would fly through the window and kill me, in which this slightly shorter than me bald guy I was on a first date with desperately tried to convince me his lifetime of sexual failure was my fault. Or he needed me to understand it was other women's fault? I'm not really sure. And yes, slutty story reader, I understand your disappointment in expecting sex and getting a Twitter rant because, poetically, I'd met up with a man completely under the pretense we were going to fuck. I was fully expecting to be back home 90 minutes later with a tummy full of cummy and another phone number diligently texting me every 3 months for the next half-decade with or without a response from me. But instead I was sitting at this dead-ass bar for like 2.5 hours on a Wednesday as the dude rehearsed his podcast monologue on me. You see, I'd fucked up big. I'd made the mistake of interpreting our repartee as a clear signal of intention. To me it was so obvious that this was a hookup that I hadn't even dressed slutty. I was literally in jeans and a t-shirt. I had no thighs to tease him, no skirt to position just so to offer a stealing glance at my golden ticket, no cleavage to lean over and blast him with like a Venice or hyperbeam. I'm trying to use more similes, is it working? Did that make you hard? I had nothing, it was a disaster. I'd even told him I was free all night, because I thought this was a done deal. I salaciously licked the salt off my glass as I stared deep into his eyes as a desperate Hail Mary, but alas 'twas in vain. So, yeah, here we were. Happens to the best of us. I guess I could have just got up and left, but part of me felt like he would interpret that as him winning. And honestly another part of me is also just very slutty for margaritas. So instead of dick, I sucked down my 700th drink of the night and nodded understandingly with big doe eyes as the man I'd shaved my kitty for not 4 hours prior passionately explained to me that women won't fuck him because they're too shallow. He wasn't some incel neckbird type either. Yes, he was a little shorter than me and had a shaved head, but he was quite handsome. He had bushy expressive eyebrows and well-groomed scruff, the shadowy hint of a mustache on his lip. He had big strong arms and dressed well, and evidently had a good job at a place where he did stuff and they paid him money. I tell you these details because part of me was wondering if this was his thing. Like, he gets off on getting women all frothy in the text game, but then he shows up for the date, recites a whole JRE episode from memory, sneaks out the bathroom window, and runs home and jerks off onto his paleo cookbook or something. Truly wouldn't be the weirdest shit I've heard. Anyway, at some point I went to the bathroom and I'd had enough drinks that I was having a real moment with my reflection in the mirror as I washed my hands. I felt slightly angry and annoyed both at the guy, and yes, he has a name, but I feel like I'm too deep in this story now to suddenly be like annoyed at the guy I've been writing about for 12 paragraphs, whose name was Jeremy. But I was even more annoyed at myself for letting the situation happen. I should have either walked out 2 hours ago or been more forward about my intentions, but instead my passive indecision had cost me my entire night. So a desperate bolt of tequila-induced motivation strikes me. I will regain my agency, I decide. Right there at the sink I pull down my pants and underwear just enough to snap a pic of my freshly smooth kitty, and I send it to NGL several people who might be interested. Which is not a wise move, but this is not the Wise Sluts Club. And also NGL, these were taller guys. Just a mood I was in for some reason. I strode back to the bar with a renewed confidence. Jeremy seemed to sense something had changed and looked at me quizzically, which for some reason struck me as cute. I was intending to leave and go fuck a tall guy, but I was kind of drunky and sporadic, so instead I blurted out what I just did. When I was in the bathroom, I just sent a picture of my kitty to a bunch of tall guys. He cycled through about 19 emotions in a second and a half trying to interpret the subtext of what I just said. Even his posture went on roulette. He couldn't decide whether he was slouching or sitting up straight, like he was having a little back spasm. A more sober me would probably have been worried he was going to smack me or something, but I was so marked up, I didn't give one fuck and just stared at him unflinching. After a long few seconds of rigorous processing, he settled on "Can I see it?" which in the moment struck me as a bit pathetic, though honestly looking back was a totally fair response to the curveball I'd just thrown at him. I'm smooth as fuck, so without missing a beat I said the picture or my kitty, and that broke him again for a couple more seconds. I knew it was game over for him, because he glanced around when I said kitty to see if anyone was listening, like a coward. But he said both, which I admit was a good answer. I opened my phone and showed him the picture. He was still a bit thrown, dazed, as if he'd been punched in the face. I'd clearly asserted myself as the alpha, as I assume he'd say. I have no idea if he'd say that. I've completely stereotyped this man, lol. He stared at the pic, and before he mustered a reaction we both saw a response from one of the guys appear on the top of my screen. Come over, to which, as he watched, I replied OMW. Then I looked up at him all cutesy and asked if he could give me a ride over there. He seemed so, confused isn't the right word, but like he was watching the finale of a show he'd never seen. I'm going to call it a puzzled yet deep concern. Which again, retrospectively, is totally fair. This man doesn't know me. This man doesn't even know I've been wishing for death for the past 3 hours, because I've been agreeing to all the brain-numbing dribble he's been pouring on me. Suddenly I'm showing him pictures of my kitty, telling him I'm sexting other men. He has no idea what's happening. Is he dropping me off at home? Am I planning to murder him? Am I Ashton Kutcher from the mid-2000s show Punk'd Ya Bitch? That was a Punk'd reference. Sorry if you thought I was a supple young college freshman. Go to my profile. I was posting here 5 years ago. But what's wild is that he agreed. He called the bartender over, paid for his, 4 beers and my, 10,000 margaritas, and then we walked out to his car. He asked where we were going and then he just fucking started driving there. I asked for the music and put on some emo bullshit and scream sang while he silently drove me in Uber mode. We got there and I told him to wait here. I got out, I called Evan buzzed me up. I went up there and fucked Evan. If you're keeping score at home, it was quick business. Evan fucked me with a condom at his own insistence. I offered to blow him and he didn't want to take the condom off, which maybe speaks to what Evan thinks of me. So I didn't and we just kept fucking. And after like 5 or 10 minutes he came, and then I said I was going to leave and he said okay. And I left and that was that. And as I walked down the stairs, I noted that there was a reason I don't text Evan. I got back down sure Jeremy would be gone, but lo and behold he's still sitting there in his car like a good chauffeur. I get in and straight up ask why he's still there. He told me it's because I said I'd show him my kitty and I haven't yet. At this point I realized he thinks I have some master plan, because I'd totally forgotten I'd said that N was completely operating on drunken impulse. So I checked my phone, and most of the guys I texted responded, and the only logical option at that point was to have Jeremy drive me around the city while I one by one fucked all these guys I'd sent my nudie to, and yes, I did write just 10,000 words of inner monologue and then gloss over all the sex in a couple sentences. After the 4th or 5th guy I was losing steam, and I told Jeremy I wanted pizza, so we went to a late night pizza place and he bought us slices. He'd been pretty quiet since we left the bar, which I guess makes sense because he probably hadn't expected to get cucked all over the city when he left his house that day. At this point it was pretty late for a Wednesday, 1 or 2 a.m., and I was getting sleepy and my vengeance was giving way to pity. As we were sitting there eating pizza I asked if he still wanted to see my kitty. He did the look around again when I said kitty, which I still thought was silly that he had no problem rambling loudly for hours in public about who women want to have sex with, but the word kitty made him nervous. He asked if I'd really fucked all those guys he'd driven me to. I told him I had, but in a bout of late night honesty I also confessed none of it was great sex and I'd really only done it to spite him. And I did slide in the detail that I'd originally gone out with him, accepting a booty call. He stared deeply into his pizza looking for answers, and the pizza must have told him kitty was kitty because he said he still did. I told him he could do more than look because he'd earned it, and with the most shameful defeated acceptance of a sexual offer I've ever had from a man, he said okay and then added thank you because I guess I'd really done a number on this guy. We went back to his and, well, I fucked his brains out. It wasn't bad either. As I was getting naked for him, in his humbled state he said all kinds of sad disclaimers like his dick wasn't that big, he wasn't that good at sex, he wasn't going to last that long, etc. But honestly it was fine. After he came he started crying, which happens more than you'd think, but it did make me feel like a bad person and not in a fun way. Normally that's my cue to leave, but I was worried I'd done long-term damage to this guy, so I cuddled him and stroked his hair and various other mommyisms. And I told him he was a good guy doing his best and if he called off work tomorrow I'd stay the night and we could have as much sex as he wanted in the morning. He did in fact call off the next day, which was a bit awkward because I woke up a little hazy on the details of the previous night. But after a brief discussion I honored my promise, and we fucked all morning and into the afternoon. I'm pretty sure he was hate fucking me, and I was definitely pity fucking him. I did have him make me breakfast at some point, because I may be a slut, but if I sleep naked in your bed overnight you're damned sure making me breakfast. Eventually he was all tuckered out and so I called an Uber and left. He'd gotten it all and then some, but even after all that I still felt like I'd taken the pep out of his step, and he couldn't look me in the eye. Which I guess was what I wanted, but I'd wanted it to be fun not sad. In the car home I felt a deep connection to, but I guess that's just how life goes, huh? I haven't heard from him since and I definitely haven't reached out. Second story. My dad and my mom have been happily married for over 30 years. I have a sister who is 21, but as far as I knew, she was my one and only sibling. Today, my dad asked if I could come by his office and talk to him about something serious. I didn't take it seriously, because my dad will sometimes call me into his office and nag me about school or just chat with me because he misses me. From the moment I stepped into his office, I could tell something was wrong. His eyes were bloodshot as if he had just finished crying and he was very quiet. He told me to take a seat and said he had something very serious to tell me. At this point, I thought that he was going to tell me he had cancer or that someone had died. Not even close. He proceeded to tell me that he cheated on my mom 10 years ago and slept with another woman, and that he has a 9-year-old daughter, my half-sister. She lives across the country with her mother. He said that my mom already knows about everything, but that he hasn't told my sister yet. My sister is very emotional, I guess you could say, so he thought I would handle the news better than her, since I'm very easygoing and I don't get upset at things. At this point, I was kind of in shock because it hadn't fully processed. He told me her name and told me that she would be coming this Sunday with her mother. He explained that they were coming so he could sign his daughter's passport, and that he would love if I could meet her and get to know her. He stressed that it's not the child's fault at all, which I completely understand, and that he would like me to be a part of her life. He called the girl in front of me just so I could hear her voice, and it absolutely broke my heart when she answered the phone and said, "Hi, Daddy." That was when it definitely became a reality to me. She asked my dad when she would be able to meet her sisters, and it made me tear up a little bit. I gave my dad a hug, and I told him that I would need some time to process things, but that I love him and this doesn't change the love I have for him. Things still haven't properly processed yet. I feel like it was all sprung onto me so quickly. I'm mad, sad, confused, and disgusted. I don't know what to feel. I knew my parents didn't have a perfect relationship, but this was the last thing I expected. The other day, my dad asked if I could come by his office and talk to him about something serious. He proceeded to tell me that he cheated on my mom during a one-night stand 10 years ago, and that he has a 9-year-old daughter, my half-sister, who lives across the country with her mother. My mom has known ever since the woman was pregnant and stayed with him for the sake of me and my sister. He even asked if I could meet his daughter. When he told me, it didn't really process in my mind. I gave my dad a hug and told him that I would need some time to process things, but that I love him and this doesn't change the love I have for him. Now that it's processed, it's really killing me. I'm in distraught. The woman he cheated with was from his old job, when my family still lived in a different state. You know what breaks my heart? I used to go to the job with my dad all the time, sit on his lap when he filed paperwork, say hi to everyone there. I probably even met the woman a few times. She knew my dad was married. She knew he had kids. My dad knew he was married. My dad knew he had kids. He said that he only had one child with a woman, and that she has another child, a 6-year-old boy. He told me that the boy is under his name legally, but it's not his son by blood. I don't even know if I can believe anything he says anymore. What if he's still seeing the woman? What if that son is his? How can I believe a cheater? My mom is one of the most loving, sweetest people in the world. Her kindness and compassion make people love her almost instantly. I don't understand how or why he would cheat on the woman who loved him unconditionally. Was my mom not enough of a reason for him to stay faithful? Were my sister and I not a good enough reason for him to come home for the night? I just feel so disgusted. I texted him a series of hateful messages, basically telling him that I'm disgusted and that he ruined my views on what a father is. I used to look up to him. I was so proud to have him as my dad. But now all I can feel is disgust and resentment. I will never meet his kid. I don't care. I know it's not the child's fault, and maybe I'm being immature, but that child is living proof of the betrayal towards my mom. I'm not going to let my mom know that I know yet. Her health isn't the best and I don't want her to have a heart attack from springing it onto her too suddenly. I can't be around my dad right now. I feel so unbelievably nauseous whenever I see him. My birthday was next week. I had things planned, but I canceled it all. I'm gonna be living with my aunt for a little while. My aunt has known about this for years, until I can process this somewhat. My teachers are allowing me to do all my assignments online, and I found cover for my job, so I should be set. If anyone has gone through something similar, please give me advice. Third story. My wife of nearly 7 years, 10 years together to replace me with a coworker. Well, my wife of nearly 7 years told me 2 days ago she was seeing a guy and had been for about 8 months. I had my suspicions, especially recently, but I held her to a high moral standard and never thought she could be capable of doing something so hurtful and disrespectful. During this 8-month period, her and I had drinks, dinner, etc. with this guy. He is a coworker who conveniently had just got divorced and who I had considered a friend. So here we are having dinner, drinks, hanging out, and the whole time my wife and him were putting on an act like everything was normal. I told her that as of that day, either he's dead to you or I am. And the crushing blow came. She said she wants to continue seeing him. She says she loves me and loves him. I asked how she could equate almost 7 years of building a life, love and relationship to an 8-month affair. She couldn't answer that but said she was sorry that she hurt me. I told her if she was truly sorry, she would have broken it off and put her attention on us. I am stunned, pissed, embarrassed that I didn't see the signs, but most of all, I am sad and broken-hearted. I'm not going to beg to have her back. I have accepted my fate and will move on. If those of you who have gone through this have any advice, I appreciate it and thank you for taking time to read my story. Update 1. She said she wants to keep seeing him but still loves me. So here's what has transpired. Her whole family knows and they are not happy with her at all. They have all reached out to me giving support and telling me they love me and I will always be family to them. Her sister is pissed and doesn't even want to see her. She has claimed that after we divorce she will not be anywhere near this guy, nor bring her son around him. They have been really close as sisters and her taking my side was huge. I have made myself unavailable and busy this whole weekend to her, and have set up a consultation with a lawyer for this Tuesday to start divorce proceedings. I have begun looking at housing options, but may try to buy her out and keep the house. Also, since she makes more than me, I will be filing for spousal support. I know there is still a rough read ahead and some work to be done, but I am feeling good about where things are going. I think some folks had asked whether we have kids. We do not. We have a dog who will be coming with me since I did all the work to raise her and train her. So will I less complicated and no reason for her to contact me after I am gone. I couldn't have gotten through these first few days without all of you on here, and I am eternally grateful. I plan to pay it forward by sharing my story in the future, once I have healed and help others as you have helped me. Much love Survivor fam. I will update as things progress. Update 2. So for those of that have been following along, my wife confessed on May 23rd of having an 8-month affair with her coworker. Even after confessing, she still professed her love for him and wanted to continue seeing him. So my response was to retain an attorney for $5,000 and file for divorce. I will also be nailing her ass for alimony payments as well. Strangely enough, right after I filed, she suddenly had an epiphany and came running back to me, wanting to make things better and work on our relationship. I told her I would think about it, but I wasn't sure. The only reason I gave her that response is because I want to keep her in good standing while I'm still processing this divorce. But let it be known the divorce is happening. There's no going back. It's a final decision for me. She doesn't know that I filed for divorce, and I plan on keeping that way just so I can keep it amicable until we can get the house sold. But she's going to get served around September 1st, and then all hell's going to break loose. But it doesn't really matter to me. I've made my decision. I plan to move on with my life, and I suggest anybody else who's been in this situation do the same. I will keep you posted as more progress happens. Update 3. So it has been a while since I've updated everyone, but I've made some really good progress. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I have come to financial division agreement. My lawyer has now sent us back to CR2A farm with all of our financial division agreements on it. Now we just need to sign it and send it back in, and then it gets applied to the courts. Once I get the green light, either from the court or from my lawyer, I will begin putting up the house for sale. This has been a trying process, just because I've been trying to keep patient through all of this. But I've received a lot of support from you guys, from my family, from friends. It's really helped me to make decisions and progresses through where it needs to be. I feel better every day, and as more steps get taken care of, I bought LifeLock so all my finances and my credit report and everything are all protected. and I've even had a few dates along the line just to create a distraction, so that I'm not completely without social interaction. All in all, I feel pretty good, no turning back of my decision, and for anyone who is considering, take it from me, it's the best decision you ever make. I know it's not an easy one, but you have to stop and think about what's best for you and what's best for you going forward in your life. I will try to send an update once the agreement has been signed, and once we start moving forward with getting the house for sale. Thank you for everyone who's giving me the support on here and who's been following, and I'm sorry it took a while to get the updates, but I wanted to hit a major benchmark before I did so. Update 4. 1 year anniversary D-Day. Wife replaced me with coworker. Nearly 7 years marriage, together for over 10 years. So, a year has passed since my wife confessed to having an 8-month affair with her coworker. She sat on our couch in our house and told me she loved him and wanted to continue seeing him. Well, here is what took place in the last year. 1. Got divorced, finalized in September 2023. 2. Sold the house and moved into my own place. 3. Met an amazing woman who went through a similar demise. 4. Most importantly, I moved on from my emotions surrounding my ex and am in a much better state of mind. For those of you going through this now, take it from me, leaving really is the best option. There are conflicting emotions and you still care about this person, believe me, I get it. You will be so much better in the long run and realize what you have been missing out on. 1 year ago, my life was in chaos, and I was heartbroken and felt worthless. Today I look back on that memory and I am proud what I have accomplished, endured, and came out the other side with clarity and peace. I wish that for all of you out there grappling with this situation and decision. If you have any questions or need advice, I can help. Thank you for reading this, and I hope this insight helps some of you. 4th story. My friend, 39/F, has a crush on a married man, 33/M, and wants to act on it. My friend 39/F has a big crush on her married coworker 33/M. They have been friends for a few years. Everyone in the company all works from home and he lives in another country. On the company's most recent overseas work trip, he asked her to go to his hotel room to talk, and they ended up talking all night. No hooking up occurred. He asked her to stay the night and she declined and went to her room. The next day everyone went home. Apparently during this talk they talked about a lot of deep topics and she felt a spark. He told my friend he and his wife are on a break and are sleeping in different rooms, and that he is in a loveless marriage and have grown apart. He also has a 1-year-old child with this woman. My friend is obsessed with this guy. She can't get over the crush. She told me she won't be able to resist if he makes a move on her. I told her not to get involved with a married man and do not listen to anything he says. Who knows what is going on in the marriage? They are not divorced and he is only using my friend. It has been 2 weeks since they returned from trip and he has not messaged her. From her past relationship decisions, I know she is not going to listen to me. I can foresee them hooking up eventually. I am pretty speechless at her behavior at the moment, and as someone who has been in this situation from the partner's POV, it is just hurtful. My friend has never been cheated on, so I don't think she gets it. Not to mention she doesn't give a fuck about the wife and baby. TLDR, my friend has a crush on her married coworker and wants to hook up with him. I don't know how to navigate my friendship with her now. Update. I want to end my friendship because my friend is going after a married man. My friend has a gigantic crush on her married coworker. The company they work for is remote and he lives in another country. On the company's most recent overseas work trip, he asked my friend to come over to his hotel room to talk, and they ended up talking all night. No hooking up occurred, nor have they ever hooked up. Apparently during this talk, they talked about a lot of deep topics, and my friend felt a spark. Her coworker told my friend he and his wife are on a break and are sleeping in different rooms at home, and that he is in a loveless marriage and have grown apart. Blah blah blah, the typical BS. He also has a 1-year-old child with this woman. After this hours-long nighttime session, my friend is now obsessed with this guy. She can't get over the crush and doesn't know what to do. She said she wants him and also told me she won't be able to resist if he makes a move on her. I told her not to get involved with a married man and to not listen to anything he says. Who knows what is going on in the marriage? They are not divorced and he is only using my friend as a therapist. It has been now 3 weeks since they returned from trip and he has not messaged her. From her past relationship decisions I know she is not going to listen to me. I can foresee them hooking up eventually. I just can't believe she would break up a family. The other day she bragged about graduating therapy and is still going on about this man to me. She can't put out her feelings. I have reached my limit with this and don't want to hear about it anymore. I just don't want to be associated with someone like that. As someone who has been cheated on, this is just not something I want to be around or reminded of. I think her behavior is absolutely disgusting. My friend has never been cheated on, so I don't think she gets it. Not to mention she doesn't give a fuck about the wife and baby. All around it is such selfish behavior. Fifth story. We had a huge fight last night. It started with me asking him question about if he remembers what happened last Sunday when he came home from the brewery around 4 p.m. He appeared to be altered to me and was rather abrasive rude. We had a little altercation and he stormed out and went to hotel. When I asked him if he remembered what happened and what he told me, he said that he does not. He said he remembers leaving that tavern, but not much after. So he was driving around the town drunk. This mortified me because I am concerned he will hurt someone if he gets into an accident. 15 years ago I had to deal with his drug addiction and promiscuity, and he went to rehab. I forgave him, because I thought all his action was drug influenced, and he cleaned up his act afterward. I'm concerned he's doing something again. It is very off-putting, and I don't even know why I'm saying all this because I think I'm done. What I want to share with you is that he has been more stressed and altered in the past few weeks, and while he was like that, he told me some stuff that was truly, well, shocking to me. He described the same events from our past from his side, and it's like listening to two people who lived in a completely different marriage. His interpretation of some events are downright scary to me because when I try to correct him, he would tell me, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that's not how it happened, or that's not what I meant. Gaslighting. Last night for the first time, I realized how much resentment he had during our marriage. I understand resentment can build, but I was completely unaware just how deeply he hated me. I told him, if you were so unhappy, why didn't you just get a divorce instead of cheating? And he said it's because he still loves me and doesn't want to hurt me. To which I replied, you will not be able to anymore. That got him really pissed off. 20 years of putting up with him, working late, neglecting family because of work, cheating, supporting him succeed enormously in his career where he's now making double the money that I am, and he still felt neglected, and now somebody else get to enjoy it. Even with division of assets, I probably won't get much of alimony because I am also high earner, but I will never be able to afford to buy a home again. I do not want to have mortgage in my 80s and our mortgage is almost paid off. We had beautiful plans for retirement, all gone. I may get lucky in the future too, but currently, I am absolutely not interested in romantic relationship. Sucks that I am going to get screwed up emotionally and financially because I got cheated on. Fuck these affairs. Thank you for listening. Finally, I see how WS thinks and it is terrifying. A completely innocent conversation and WS flipped. Gave me an insight of how they think and justify their actions. WS justification for making an illegal U-turn, apparently daily, when dropping kids at school in the morning. Learned of it today. WS, it is okay. I make it better because I avoid going into that mess in front of me. Long slow drop-off line, and it is safer to avoid that. And why is that a problem if there are no cars coming? Me, who picks kids up and had to deal with the same problem and seen and cursed a-holes who do this. Why do you do that? I can't believe you are one of those people who make illegal U-turn there. And there is a sign no U-turn, and it is there for a reason. WS, yes, even though I know it is wrong, I make it better because I avoid all that traffic and it makes safer for everyone. Me, do you apply that to all areas of your life? You deciding what is best for everyone? WS storms out of the room. Busted. This gives you an insight of just how their thinking is fucked up when they double down on explaining why even breaking the law was okay. Sixth story. I'd like to be as short as possible trying to define what happened. After some months of suspicion and asking her questions like, "Are you talking to another man?" and she denying everything. One time I told her to give me her phone since I'm an IT guy, I could find anything. Putting a lot of pressure, she started telling partial truths, things she knew I would find out. Everything I know is because I either found out myself or she knew I would end up finding it. She started talking to the neighborhood guard, casually. Slowly they started talking more and more, then shared phones and had long conversations every day. They kissed at least 5 times and had around 5 dates outside the neighborhood in public places. According to the info I have, there was no sex, penetration, neither masturbation. That's the most probable thing, but I cannot guarantee it. Anyway, she would chat with him in bed next to me, or she would paint her nails till tea late in the kitchen while I was already in bed. She told him she would never regret their thing, and she loved him. Something's very strange. We are in a very different social strata. He is a security guard, and I'm an engineer. He doesn't even know proper grammar, neither finished his school. He has a girlfriend. They would see each other in the same neighborhood where we live. It's a gated place, probably every other day. I discovered everything. Her psychologist said she dissociated, leaving behind the most basic and elemental values, such as honesty, trust, family. For us, even if we are in a very good economical position, money is not important per se, just a medium. We always believed that. Once I asked her directly, "Are you chatting with another man?" She denied. I went to the sofa in the living room and cried for a bit. I was suspecting. She came back to me after 10 minutes, gave me a hug, and told me it was my imagination. In the chats, I could read her telling his lover, "My knees are shaking, husband asked me this. I'm stressed." And then, "Don't worry," I gave him a hug and it was all over. We are fine. I feel like shit after reading these ugly things. She had many occasions to finish this, many warnings, and she did not do it. It is like she was looking for someone to share feelings and sometimes kiss, like a very immature 14-year-old girl. She says she loves me, we can get our marriage back, blah blah blah. I talked directly with the psychiatrist, asking if this dissociative thing is a pathology on her or what's the meaning. She said that it is not pathological on her. Everything was done consciously and she dissociated only to keep both relationships in parallel, but it was no excuse. It was her deciding to go on day by day. 8 months equals 240 days. I want to forgive her. Sometimes I love her, still, sometimes I hate her. I'm very confused. I think she never acted like this. People around believe she is not a compulsive liar. Anyways, I feel she needs at least to be scared of me leaving and check her reaction. She keeps talking she loves me and asking for forgiveness and mentioning she was ill. Honestly, she does not produce rejection on me, and I could even have normal sex with her, even after talking about the affair and the details. At the moment, I took a trip, planned for both in Europe. I came alone to friends' houses to meditate. I think I miss her. Not sure if I'm afraid of being alone, or because I want to give the marriage a second chance, or because there's some love left. Someday I hate her. Sometimes I imagine changes in our couple to be a better one. This is driving me crazy. Timeline is August 31st, 2023. She started the affair April 20th, 2024. I found out May 10th, 2024. I took the plane to Europe May 24th, 2024. Today, mixed feelings. I really want to give her and the marriage a chance. I wonder if I should take it more slowly, like a separation, wait for her responses, etc. We own more than a house, so we could take turns to live with the kids for a while. Is it a good idea to come back home after the trip, sleep with her, have sex and keep talking about all this? Will she feel it's an easy one? Does she really understands the pit where she put me in? Questions. No answers. We are doing couples therapy, individual therapy, and both also going to a psychiatrist. We have friends to rely on. We have a good network of trustees to talk about this. Still don't know what to do. 7th story. I posted this on the infidelity sub, but I feel it belongs better here as many of you here have more experience into what I am going through, so I am reposting here. I am 7 weeks in today and I am struggling. Wife 31F and I 36 meters have been married for 3 years, known her for 9 years, with a 2-year-old kid, living what I thought was a happy and content life. We went to vacation as a couple twice last year, and finding out about her infidelity this March is a sucker punch. I didn't see it coming at all. She admitted falling in love with this guy at work. They both work in tech. This happened in February, as she claims, this year, where the guy admitted being attracted to my wife, and she kept it to herself because she was interested too. They pursued the relationship, going out, having dates, and checking into hotels while I stay at home caring for the kid. I also work in tech and can permanently work at home. They went out on the pretense of working in the office, even though they were only supposed to work from home. So they had all day to themselves, fucking around and telling her victim stories to get more affection. They ended up having a 2-month affair, until I found out. Knowing my wife and her sex antics, and the evidence of trickle truth in her confessions, I compelled her to admit to me that she let the guy finish inside of her with no protection. And yes, she did allow him to do that twice on her safe days. No protection was ever used. My instincts were right. She gathered courage to admit this to me. I am beyond traumatized. I don't want to stay in this marriage, but what about my sweet kid? He is going to grow up in a broken family if I leave, and it breaks me. This was not the plan. I have always been a good husband and made sure she is happy. Some women are just evil. She wants to reconcile. I am adamant. Currently we are trying to do individual healing. I am doing the meditation and breathing exercises for my anxiety. I am considering going to an EMDR clinic. I am also meeting with therapists. She is also very remorseful, trying to find the why she did it. She has some answers now, but not quite deep yet. She is meeting with therapists and binge watching YouTube for about recovering from affairs. She switched jobs and enforced no contact rule and put a more rigid boundary interacting at work. She is also about to meet with some life coaches specializing in infidelity for some structured program. You guys think that is good enough sign of true remorse? Hysterical bonding is high, although I admit I am quite disgusted sometimes because the intrusive thoughts would just come in all of a sudden, and realize a man was here and deposited his seeds. Deep in my heart I know I still love her, but my mind tells me to leave. But if I leave, I worry about my kid, because in my country the kids stay with the mother until 7 years old, so I cannot fight for custody until a few years. Men are at a disadvantage in my third world shithole country. Any suggestions? Also, am I an asshole if I do a paternity test on my kid? He kinda looks like me, but the nature of her infidelity makes me question everything.